Hello, everybody. Welcome into stats, standings, box scores, and now playoff preview. As this is the first week that it will show up in Madden. Here's how things are lining up for these teams: Steelers, Packers on top of each of the conferences. Steelers after beating the Bengals. Bengals taking their second straight loss. Looking to right the ship this week, so they fall to the 5 seed, of course, because how good the division is. The 1 seed or the 5 seed is the difference in who wins it. Then we got Jets, Dolphins rematch of their game they just played. Jags, Patriots, Bengals, Chargers, and then on top, Cowboys getting the win, keeping the 2 seed. They face the Lions, Niners, Vikings, and Panthers, Eagles as our playoffs in the NFC. So some real forming of the playoff groups, but we'll see kind of the standings. There's some definite shakeups possible here as we get going. So we will check out last week's games first. Lions think missed a golden opportunity, getting it to overtime, but just couldn't pull it out. Mariota had a good game, stepping up for Geno again. He ended up doing just enough to give him the win. Goff, the 2 picks, certainly hurts. Justice Hill, Kamara, both good games. Tyreek got going a bit. That's always good to see. JOK was everywhere. Kenny Clark with 4 tackle for losses. Von Miller, 2 sacks. AC Jackson, Daxton Hill, Sion Takitaki with the picks. And we'll keep rolling. Commanders Cowboys. Just saw this game. Obviously, they end up winning by 10, but that's because of an onside kick return for a touchdown. So, pretty good game with the Commanders. They kept it close, made some mistakes, forced some mistakes of Dak. Just didn't quite have enough juice at the end, but certainly made it interesting. This one, man, this was a brutal ending. Seahawks only needed a field goal to win it. Throw a pick at the goal line for no reason at all. Brutal stuff. It was a really good game, but a brutal end. Frank Clark, 700 edge rusher getting in there. Lattimore and Whitehead the picks. Dolphins Jets. Dolphins really tried to come back in that fourth quarter, scoring 22 points, but I mean they just couldn't allow any at that point. They had to play perfect football, and they almost did it. But gonna need more in the first half, I'd say. Fournette has been awesome for the Jets, so I guess really making me eat my words about saying he sucks. I'll stand by it. He sucks. Curtis Samuel, a big day. Rather than Lockett, big days as well. It does seem like this pass rush for the Dolphins misses Jermaine Johnson. But they'll be getting him back in a few weeks, so that'll be nice for their defense. See, it's Falcons. What a win for New Orleans. They got Dobbs coming in for Huntley because Huntley got hurt early, but Dobbs steps up nicely, keeps things rolling. Gibbs, great day on the ground. Patterson also gets a touchdown. Nakua and Chase both over 100 yards. Mingo gets a touchdown in his game back. So we're going to see him get rolling again. No sacks allowed. Aluakun, 15 tackles, 3 tackle losses. So Joshua Williams, 4 tackle losses, gets a sack and a half. So the sack allowed thing is like you can attribute to a person. So obviously he still had sacks, but corner blitz being a sack and a half of it. This is an awesome pick by the rookie. Caleb Ringo, 2 deflections. Great return, forces a fumble, was recovered by Aluakun. I thought the game was over when that happened right away, but it did not end up being over, obviously. Steelers, Bengals, tight game, field goal, extra in the fourth quarter ended up being the difference. Burrow and Kirk both playing pretty good football there. 4 touchdowns, 1 pick each. Obviously, Burrow had less attempts by a good deal, but just didn't have enough to win it. Pacheco and Strong struggling on the ground. Jacobs got hurt again. I think he's fine. I can't remember 100% though. Zay Flowers leading the way receiving. Sammy Watkins also up there for the Bengals. So stepping up for some injuries. Got to get Cooper Kupp going a little bit more. He's just barely missing a lot of these plays that he could have. So they're just figuring out him away from getting going. 19 tackles for Logan Wilson. It's crazy. He was everywhere. 5 tackle for losses for TJ and Jalen Carter. Each getting a half a sack. Deion Hunter getting a full sack. Logan Wilson, Mike Hilton getting picks. And we'll keep rolling. Bucks Colts didn't watch this one at all. I just showed up and was like, oh, Colts won. Nice. Essentially, that's gone. But Ryan had a decent day, honestly. I wouldn't have expected that considering them not winning. But JT back in his first game, first real game for the Colts since he got hurt right away at the beginning of his other one. Doing wants me to play ball. You gotta give it to me. She doesn't do it very good. She does a show. Yeah, don't you tell me. Devontae David, classic day for him. Getting the pick too. Forrest Buckner, 4 tackle for losses. Deo Adeyingbo getting 3 sacks. Anthony Nelson getting 2. Definitely not the guys you'd expect to be getting a bunch of sacks for these teams, but they did it. Few deflections, no forced fumble. Jags Texans, probably our most boring game of the week as the Jags just went ahead and dominated. Trevor Lawrence back, and they just took care of business. Got some Heineke in here as Baker really struggled today. Only 31.6 passer rating. Roger Stevens got hurt again. He's going to miss some time, but they do get Etienne back, so at least they will have at least one running back this time. Okereke getting 18 tackles, 2 of them for a loss. Troy, a lot of guys getting sacks, a lot of blitzing for the most part. Derek Hall getting another sack this week. Gilmore, 2 picks. Fuller with 1. Patriots Giants, what a game we had here. Just tons of long touchdowns. Stroud throws a 2 picks, but still has a good day. Rodgers throws a 1. Was pretty awesome except for that. Rushing attack, Cook had a nice day on the ground. Does cool off at the end, and that hurts him a good bit. He was at like 50 yards after 5 carries or something like that. But still a good day on the ground. Waddle and Hardman, though, balling out, opposite sides, 10 for 220, 10 for 219, 3 touchdowns for Waddle, 2 touchdowns for Hardman. Just awesome days. Hardman hits the longest one from 73 or 75, but Waddle hits a bunch of like 40-plus yard touchdowns to get him going. Michael Thomas is also pretty good. Cooper gets that 1 open touchdown to end up being the difference in the game. Heron allows 2 sacks in relief. Pratt, 14 tackles. Preston Smith had a big day in run defense and got the big sack. Didn't amount to anything, but he did get a big sack. Only 2 sacks on the day. Smith and Robinson getting them. The Jarius need 2 interceptions on the day. So talking about our big days, he gets 2, including a pick 6. And Tyson Campbell also getting a pick. Deflections, Duggar has 2. He nearly had a couple interceptions. Mills forces a fumble, but it did not get recovered. And then, like I said, the Jarius Sneed touchdown. Panthers, Titans. Game came down to the wire. I think it was a pick 6 at the end. That ended up being the difference. But Young out early. Only threw 3 passes. And DTR has to step up for him and has a very mixed day. But you got your backup quarterback in. You just want to make some plays. He definitely did that. From 304 yards, 3 touchdowns. Still 2 picks. But Kenny getting sacked 7 times, throwing just the 1 interception, no touchdowns. Definitely a brutal day for him. Derrick Henry was pretty fine on the ground, just about 4 yards per carry, high volume. He did what he could for the game. Ayuk, 9 for 131 and 2 touchdowns. A big day for him. Mechie, again, over 100 yards. JSN at 80. So, big days for these Panthers receivers. Bora, lots of sacks allowed. Aaron Donald gets 8 tackle for losses and 2.5 sacks. So, I guess we see what happened. Aaron Donald, wrecked shop. Ojabo also getting 2.5 sacks, so I feel like every week we get an Ojabo masterclass. Here's another one. Carl Lawson gets 2 for Tennessee. White, Greenlaw, Logan Hall all getting 1 interceptions. Vitalis, Jordan Lewis, and Jordan Howden. I believe the Howden one is a pick 6. So the only interception that Kenny threw was, essentially game over, I guess, at that point. So He would have needed a miracle to get them down the field and score a touchdown, but he throws the touchdown just to the wrong team. Rams Cardinals. I don't remember anything of this game, but the Cardinals do win. Oh, Jack Cohn, lovely. Jack Cohn out here balling. Antonio Gibson gets 2 touchdowns on the ground. Bryson Hopkins leads the way in receiving, so I guess that kind of explains what kind of game we had here, huh? Lots of sacks. Devondre Campbell getting 16 tackles. Byron Young, 3 tackle losses here. Harold Landry leads the way to 2.5 sacks. But yeah, everybody getting involved here. Andre Carter getting 1. Rasheem Green. Nick Herbig gets a half sack. So funny that the guy who you think most expect in the entire game to get one, um, what's his name? Van Ness. Sorry, I was gonna say Vander Esch. That's definitely not right. Van Ness, but Riley Moss getting a pick. Big day for the rookies of the Rams defense. Broncos, Browns. What a beatdown this was. Browns getting to safety in the fourth quarter is fun. But yeah, they just took it to him. Tannehill got knocked out for a bit. Darnold came in and played really well, but only 6 attempts, so it doesn't really matter too much. He did take 3 sacks, so gotta clean that up. Ritter had another great game. Chubb was, fine on the ground, 4 yards per carry, but he's doing it over 31 carries, so he was consistently moving it for him. And had 2 rushing touchdowns. Jelani Woods leads the way in yards. And then Simmons and Brisker lead the way in tackles. Delpit, Garrett, 3 tackle for losses each. Garrett gets 2 sacks. Delpit 1. Ellis 1. Hubbard 1. Hishair and Denzel Ward getting the picks. And Draymond Jones forced it home, but it was not recovered. Bills, Eagles. Tough one for the Bills. Falling just short, really. I mean, they had a chance at the end, but they just couldn't execute on offense. Allen, a bad game for him. Takes 3 sacks. Only completes 55% of his passes. Throws the pick. Hurts does take 6 sacks, but it was much better every other way. P. Ryan, 3 carries, 15.7 yards per carry. Maybe give the ball a little bit more. Goddard, 94 yards. St. Brown, 93. Leading the way for him. Mailata, Cam, 2 sacks allowed each. Tron Johnson, 13 tackles. Vita Vea, 8 tackle for losses and a sack, but he is down with an injury now, so gonna see that. CJ Mosley gets 3 and 2 sacks. We got Nick Hampton and Chris Rumpin for a sack and a half. Tim Settle getting a sack as well. Just everybody getting in it. Darius Slay the pick. But yeah, so we get to injuries. You'll see the Bills. They took some real hits this week. CJ Mosley forced the fumble, was recovered by Brent Urban. The Chiefs beat the Raiders comfortably. Mahomes has a good day. Carr, for his part, has a pretty good day, too. I'd like to see him complete a little more of those passes, but that's just nitpicking at that point. Hubbard had a great day on the ground. Marquise Brown has 142 yards, so a busy day for him. Kelsey, obviously, over 100. Landry, over 100. One of his best days as a Chief. Christian Harris, 22 tackles. It's crazy. Anzalone, 18. But not a lot of solo tackles, so not helping himself out too much there. Well, McDonald, 2 tackle losses and 1.5 sacks, so leading the way for that. Chris Jones, not too active today, but does get a sack and a tackle for loss. Fred also gets a sack. 2 games left. Ravens, Chargers. Game is a little closer than I think the score indicated, but I can't remember 100%. Great day from Herbert, 4 touchdowns and a pick. Lamar could use a little bit more out of him. I think that's what they're just hoping for all year. Just like, we need a little more out of Lamar. Olave had a nice day, though. No sacks allowed. Drew Tranquil, 16 tackles, 3 tackle for losses. Jordan Davis is a monster in the middle, 5 of his 7 tackles being for a loss. Tranquil gets the only sack of the day on a blitz. Edwards and Michael Davis, the picks. 5 deflections for Derwin James, 3 for Tranquil is crazy. They were just all over the field today. And then our last game here, Bears, Vikings. The zappening didn't happen again for the Bears. They got zapped themselves this time. But game of backup quarterbacks. We got 4 different quarterbacks in. Uh, Howell, or Levis and Winston, the only guys to throw a touchdown. Howell struggling mightily, only 56% of passes completed, which I guess Winston only hit 50%, but 4.6 per attempt. Took 7 sacks today. So hard to imagine they were very positive in passing yards when he was in. Deion Pierce, 96 yards on the ground. Brian O'Neill allows 3 sacks. Definitely not the guy you expect to allow 3 sacks. But James Houston getting 3.5. He was a monster today. 5 tackle for losses, 3.5 sacks. Will Anderson gets a sack and a half. Brock Clark gets a sack. Justin Houston, Alex Highsmith. Highsmith, who is hurt, by the way. Still hurt. Didn't get hurt more. Gets a sack today. And that will do it for our box scores. We will jump into the actual standings now. So you see Steelers on top as they've beaten the other two 9-2 teams. So we've recovered after our tough loss to the Ravens and whatever the fuck happened against the Texans. Jags, Jets. We're going down here. We'll start from the bottom actually. So Bucks holding on to the #1 pick. Rams tied with them. So I'm not sure 100% of the tiebreakers. The game has it going to the Bucks. But the Rams, obviously a way worse point differential. That's the tiebreaker. But Raiders holding on to the #3 pick. Ravens at 4, Saints at 5, as they have had their bye already, whereas the Ravens have not. Um, Commanders sitting at 6, Giants at 7, Texans 8, Titans 9, Bears at 10. So some shake-up in the order, but the Bucks still kind of holding on to the top spot. As we look into the AFC now, Steelers holding on to the #1 seed like we talked about. And obviously Jets, Jags, Chargers on top of their divisions. Patriots, Dolphins, holding on to the last 2 wildcard spots. We have the Colts knocking on the door after their win this week. They are a half game back of that final playoff spot. Bills are a game back, but 2 games in the loss column. So they're going to need to knock the Dolphins down a peg, and then it'll be kind of interesting. They go on bye this week, so we'll see if the Dolphins lose to get them closer. The Browns sitting a couple games back. Chiefs, 5 and 6, are looking like they need to get to the division. 2 games back of that right now. NFC, as I said, Packers on top. Eagles holding the top wildcard spot with the Vikings in second. Lions in the 3rd spot. Niners and the Cowboys are in now. Niners got that barely win over the Seahawks. Panthers in as well. Seahawks tied for the last wildcard spot with the Lions, but just don't have the tiebreaker right now. And then we got the Cardinals sitting a half game back now. Falcons a game back. So right in the mix. Bears sitting on the outside, but not too far out looking in. They could go on a little bit of a run, finish with 8 or 9 win, or 9 or well, 10 wins is possible. But if they can finish with 9 wins, I think they got a real shot. Giants are probably out of it, though they could still finish with 9 wins and maybe sneak in. They needed this one, I think, this week. It's 5 and 7, give themselves a chance. But they fought for it, that's for sure. AFC North, Steelers Bengals tied at the top, and it's going to be between with 2 of them. Does seem like whoever loses is going to make the playoffs, given as they have a. Let me look at it real quick. Yeah, so we have 6 and 5 as the teams out. So they've got themselves a 3-game lead over the last wild card spot. So it is looking like whoever does lose the AFC North is going to have the wild card and likely going to have the top wild card spot against the AFC West. Or South, I guess. Jaguars holding on to a 2-game lead over the Colts now. Colts are making this a lot more interesting, winning 3 games in a row. The Jags obviously had without Trevor Lawrence, they lost a couple games, so this is closed a little bit. The Colts are gonna need to beat them, and I don't know if they play again. They played early last year. Patriots now sitting a game back of the Jets. They'll have an opportunity to knock them down. But division-wise, that's gonna be the biggest thing. Jets are 3-1 in the division. They're going to have an advantage at least to tie the Patriots on all of it. So that'll be, I guess, the biggest thing. AFC-wise, the Jets have a much better AFC record, 6-2 already. So if it goes to that next, because head-to-head they'd be tied if the Patriots beat them. Division they'd be tied if the Patriots beat them, but conference-wise the Jets would have them comfortably. So that'll be a big deciding factor for them. Chargers have a 2-game lead over the Chiefs and Broncos, both sitting at 5 and 6. Chargers started off 2-4, but have won out since then. They have found their groove. Now let's see if they can keep it rolling. The Chiefs, for their part, have found their groove too. So could be an exciting finish in the AFC West. The North Packers a 2.5 game lead over the Vikings, who go on bye this week, I think. So the Packers could go 3 games up with 5 to play if they can win this week. South Panthers taking a game lead over the Falcons because the Falcons took such brutal loss to the Saints. They fall to 1-2 in the division, where the Panthers are 2-0. So a huge advantage to Carolina here. I actually think their head-to-head will come down to a lot of it. Cowboys, Eagles sitting at 7-4, a 3.5 game lead over the division. Very likely to win out now at this point. Could go up to 4 games if they win this week. Both of them are 2 losses in the division. Cowboys sit at 2 wins, so they get the advantage there. And obviously winning that game, I think. I think they won the head-to-head matchup too, but 2-1 versus 2-2. So we'll see if the Eagles can, they can match them going out, but the 4-0 Giants in the division is crazy. Uh, so only winning in the division. The AFC West really tight again this year. Rams obviously falling off a good bit, but 6-5, 6-5, 6-6. Cardinals, I believe, are down with Kyler Murray, so they may fall out of the division. Seahawks have the best division record, but took a head-to-head loss with the Niners. So if they got into a 3-way tie scenario, they would get the advantage. They will have a chance to right this ship, though, knock off the Niners next time, get the division advantage, and even up their head-to-head. So that's, I think, what they could look forward to going forward. But yeah, we'll jump into our player stats now. So as you see, Lamar still on top in yards, but only 10 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. So that's just the unfortunate part of it. Stroud also kind of in a similar boat, but he has at least positive touchdown interception. Oh. Leading in touchdowns, Burrow still on top. Prescott at 25, Herbert 24. For the INTs, Jackson does still have the lead held at 11 in second place. And a few guys here at 10. Completion percentage, Russell Wilson has taken over the top spot, 71%. Burrow also at 71%. Hurts, Geno also up there. Jack Cohn, Wisconsin legend, at 70% too. Passer rating, we got Joe Burrow up here at the top. He is looking like the inside track for the MVP this year. Herbert has made a nice run at it though. He need to get a couple more touchdowns, I think. Get a few more touchdowns, maybe complete a little bit more of his passes. But he's been on a great tear to do that, so it'll be interesting to see if he can close that gap. For the 2 yards per attempt, Huntley is way up there, but he doesn't have a lot of attempts. Burrow, obviously, it's first or second, depending on where you cut the qualifying line. I think at this point it might count as 200, so Hurts there. Longest pass, Tyrod, still longest pass. Most sacks taken, Howell. Is anyone surprised he's got a comfortable lead? Allen taking a lot of sacks to the Fields as well. Um, Rushing, Dameon Pierce, our only rusher over 1,000 yards, so he had that good week to start us off. Patterson couldn't quite catch up. Henry tried to, but he was a little further away, and Najee only hit 60 yards. Those are guys who really had a chance at it this week. But Patterson's still leading in touchdowns by 3 as he gets another one this week, so fantasy points wise, he definitely gave it to Patterson. 20 yards, not better than 3 touchdowns. But been some good season for these running backs. Fields at 7 on much less carries is also impressive. Than average per game. I see Patterson going to sit on top because he has. Wait, did he miss a game? Oh, Pierce hasn't had his bye yet. Oh, yeah, okay. So he did it in 12 games. So Patterson's likely to get it in 12 games. So we will very likely see a new rushing yards leader after this game, after this week. But Howell, 5 fumbles, tough. Damon Harris leading the league in broken tackles. Jeff Wilson, Najee Harris up there too. Receiving, Jacoby Myers takes over our lead, playing in the 11 games too, so he's not cheating it too much. But 72 grabs for 969 yards. He is the favorite to be our first to hit 1,000 yards next week. We've got a few guys who look somewhat likely to do so, but he is almost a lock for it. Him and Fant feel like pretty much locks for it. Kelsey maybe as well, if they just hit their average, of course. So great start to the season for these guys. Which I guess we're now past the midway point. Kupp averaging 90 yards per game when he plays. He's at 812 in 9 games. But he won't get it next week unless he has a huge week. Then touchdowns, Kelsey at 10 or 11 has passed Campbell, who sits at 10, so just a little bit behind the pace now. Curtis Campbell, he had a quiet week this week in end zone production, and Kelsey passed him. But still has a chance at catching up to that. Kirk still leads in yards or run after catch. Well, it's an 89-yarder. I didn't do catches. Kelsey's on top. So Olave has a nice year too. He's 63 on 34 catches, only 3 touchdowns, but that's what Myers has through too. Everett's been busy too. Waddle had a huge week, 210 to get him up here. But to blocking, Torrance 728 pass blocking snaps has been really good at guard. Vera Tucker as well. We get Beecham, Sadiq Charles, sure. Creed Humphrey is not allowed to sack at the middle, and then there's Smith. So White Teller. I mean, so some real good pass blocking seasons from some of these guys. Mafi only allowing 1 sack. Classic Chiefs. Tackles Anzalone, Christian Harris, both on top at 110. So the tackle person this week leading them over 100 tackles. A lot of guys over 100 tackles. Now we kind of point our attention to the solo tackle race where Anzalone at 76 leads the way by a comfortable margin. Will he hit 100 this year? The guy barely hit it last year, I think. Vita Vea at 31 tackles for loss leads the way. An insane season from him. 23 from Aaron Donald. But sacks now. Josh Allen leads the way at 11.5. Reddick and Cam Hayward at 10. Cam's been hurt for like 3 weeks and still in third. Vea unlikely to pass him this week. NFC, Von Miller at 17.5 sacks. Landry at 12.5. Parsons at 12. Will Anderson and Ojabo each at 11.5. Bosa and Aaron Donald at 11. Interceptions now. Darius Slay at 5. Surtain at 4. Top 2 in the NFC. AFC, Howard and Peters at 5. Leonard and Snead at 4. So these guys starting to separate themselves in the interception race here. Derwin James with 13 pass deflections, getting 3 this week, or 5 this week, obviously helps that. Nelson, Adoree, and Von Bell. Second place spot. Devontae Campbell and Evander Esch leading in the NFC. Forced fumbles. Got a few guys here forcing 1. Or 2, I mean. DeMar Davis, the only guy to force 3 in the league. And then recoveries. Not that it matters too much, but hey, when he's got multiple, I'll point them out. Safety. Blocks first. Wanham, the only one in the AFC. Hargrave, Ioannidis, Campbell, Hall. Safety, Zach Allen, Motts, Hubbard, Harris, Hampton, and Jalen Carter. Wood Baker and Frank Clark here. Touchdowns, Pat Pete, the only guy with 2. In the NFC, Snead and Peters with 2. So Snead joins Peters at the top. And then for the kicking game here, as we'll see, Justin Tucker still years ahead of everybody at 50-yard attempts, although Fairbaum is catching up to him, and he is hitting a very good percentage of them, so maybe less 60-yarders ask him, but still a crazy volume from Tucker this year. He made 10 more kicks than anybody else, has kicked 15 more than anybody else. McPherson, a good 21 for 21. One of a few kickers left to be perfect. Him and Panero, but Panero was having a partial season because of me. But McPherson may run to a best kicker of the year nod if he can keep up the perfection. All right. Defense or offense here first. Team stats now. Cowboys on top again, passing the Bills, though the Bills sitting just barely behind, though they haven't had their bye yet, so a little bit of cheating in there. Yeah, Rams offense, man. Good 300-yard gap between them and anybody else, almost 400-yard. That's pretty tough. Worst passing and worst rushing offense. That's not how you draw it up. Ravens, the best passing offense. Obviously, it's just a passing yards leaderboard here. Essentially, Niners run the ball the best. Points per game. Bengals on top. Jets, Cowboys, Chargers, Steelers. Is our top 5 here. We'll show everybody. As we start to get Bills only at 22 points per game, so that's the thing. They're not getting the points to match their yardage. And Rams down 11.6. Tough. The Giants just scored 30 points and they're still at 17.9. Here's first downs. The Rams are just the worst at every category on offense here. Total, passing, rushing, all of it. But fewest first downs, or most first downs, Ravens on top. Rams obviously on the bottom here. Defense, our best defense is the Packers again this year. It makes total sense for them. That they've been pretty good. Pretty good. Rams are at least not the worst defense, so that's nice for them. I like that for them. Commanders are struggling a bit, although I feel like they had a pretty good week. Apparently, the stats don't say so. At least overall for them. Passing offenses here, Packers still on top. Bengals the worst passing defense by a decent margin, but at least they're a decent run defense, sitting in the top 10. Cardinals worst rush defense in the league. Points allowed. Jags, Packers, Colts, and Steelers at our top. Colts defense has been balling out this year. Obviously, a big reason they're in the playoff picture. They just need more out of Daniel Jones. Um, then our worst Ravens, allowing the most points this year. It certainly hurts that they have allowed 80 more points than the next closest team. Uh, just unfortunate because they have a good defense too. It really is. It doesn't make any sense to me. But what are you gonna do? Saints are only team without double-digit sacks. Vikings at 44 sacks leading the way. Packers at 40 still up there, of course. Fumbles, Chargers, Texans, Cowboys, the only team to not recover one. Vikings at 7 of them. Raiders only 3 interceptions at the bottom. Colts at the top. Third down percentage, Chargers on top. I guess we'll pan through everybody real quick. Fourth downs, I guess just show it made the most. Raiders, but they're obviously in desperation. Seahawks still our best fourth down team. Points percentage in the red zone. Again, we'll pan through everybody else real quick here. And our best defenses here. Penalties, Dolphins, best team in penalties by 50 yards now. Bills the worst. Saints do have more penalties overall, so the Seahawks, but just not as devastating ones. Turnover differential, Colts, Patriots on top. Yeah. We will take a look at the awards, and then we will get out of here. So MVP is Burrow on top, Prescott up there, Herbert, Mahomes. Kind of that's the group I would agree with. I think just this top 4. Coach of the year going to Doug Peterson. I think that the Jags coach won it last year. Not 100% sure on that, but I think he did. AFC Offensive Player of the Year going to Kelsey. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Burrow, Herbert up there too. Vea Defensive Player of the Year. Looking at the group, yeah, that makes sense. JSN for AFC Rookie of the Year now. Will McDonald for Defensive Rookie of the Year. We're not going to do the positions here. We'll just go back to that. NFC Dak. I think Patterson's probably a more worthy win here, considering the Player of the Year is more slanted towards non-quarterbacks. Von Miller, yeah, makes sense. Rookie of the Year going for Mims. I don't necessarily think he's having that good of a year. Maybe I'm missing something. I'd probably go with Young here. Anderson makes sense. Nice season for him so far. And yeah, that will do it. I guess I'll show the weekly awards here because I haven't showed it for a couple weeks. So Kirk gets it this year. Waddle, obviously, huge week. Javarius Thomas, Jarius Sneed, defensive touchdowns, of course, gonna do it for him. 2 picks for Sneed. Last week I didn't show it either. Derek Hall 5 sacks. Peterson 2 picks and a touchdown. And then yeah, here is week 10. Continue to show that. All right. Well, we get out of here. Start this upload. What a week. See you next week.